Rust Valley Restorers, a Canadian reality television show, has captured the attention of audiences around the world with its unique focus on restoring vintage cars. Hosted by Mike Hall, the show documents the daily activities of Mike and his dedicated team as they work to bring classic vehicles back to life. Mike's passion for cars and his tendency to collect rusted, broken down vehicles have made him a well-known figure in the world of automotive restoration. However, despite his success on the show, Mike's story is far more complex, and recent events have left fans wondering what's next for the legendary car collector and his business. At the core of Mike's story is his undeniable obsession with classic cars, a passion that drives him to restore cars that many others would have given up on. His commitment to these projects, however, has come at a great personal cost. Mike's dedication to reviving rusted out old cars often leads him to pour countless hours and financial resources into the restoration process, only to find that the cars don't sell for the high prices he expects. As a result, he often faces significant financial losses. This pattern has led to criticism of Mike's business acumen, with many questioning his ability to turn a profit on his numerous restoration projects. A few months ago, Mike made headlines when he announced his intention to sell off his iconic Field of Dreams collection, a massive assortment of around 500 vintage cars that he had accumulated over several decades. This collection has become a symbol of Mike's passion and commitment to restoring classic cars. But what could have prompted Mike to consider parting with his beloved cars? Was it financial struggles, health concerns, or a combination of factors? Let's dive deeper into the reasons behind Mike's decision. In an emotional interview, Mike revealed the struggles he's been facing in running his business. "It's all gone," he admitted. "I've spent $2 million bucks. I've got 6 employees. I've got parts bills that are through the roof. I'm hemorrhaging funds. If we don't get some coming in, I'm not in business." Mike's journey to success has been anything but smooth. Despite his significant wealth from his previous construction ventures, managing a car restoration business has proven to be far more challenging than anticipated. Mike has always been a dreamer, and while his love for classic cars has driven his success, it's also brought him to the brink of financial ruin on more than one occasion. Mike's rise to fame, however, didn't happen overnight. Born and raised in St. Boniface, Canada, Mike moved to Kamloops as a child when his father secured a job with the Canadian Pacific Railway. As a young man, Mike didn't initially set out to restore cars for a living. In fact, before embarking on his automotive restoration career, he owned a successful slope stabilization business called Chimera Springs Rock Works. Mike made a fortune in the construction industry, a venture that allowed him to indulge his passion for collecting old cars. Over the years, Mike built an impressive collection of over 500 vehicles. While keeping such a massive collection might seem extreme to many, it was perfectly normal for Mike, who lived on a 26-acre farm with his wife and dog. To save on costs, Mike decided to store his growing collection on a separate 5-acre plot of land near Swamp Lake. This was also where the popular Netflix show Rust Valley Restorers was filmed. Despite his wife not sharing his obsession with cars, Mike was determined to continue expanding his collection, which now includes hundreds of classic cars from various makes and models. Before Rust Valley Restorers catapulted Mike into the spotlight, he made a brief appearance on the reality TV series Highway Through Hell, a show that focused on rescues and road accidents. On that show, viewers got a glimpse of Mike's adventurous side as he hung off cliffs and engaged in explosive stunts. However, it was his passion for car restoration that would ultimately make him a household name. With significant financial backing from his slope stabilization business, Mike secured a deal to host Rust Valley Restorers. The show premiered in 2019 and quickly became a hit, earning an impressive IMDb rating and securing 3 seasons on Netflix. At the age of nearly 70, Mike knows that time is not on his side. His physical limitations and the sheer number of cars in his collection have made him realize that he won't be able to restore all of them in his lifetime. This understanding has led him to include his son, Connor Hall, in the family business. Connor, who also appears on the show, has been trained to take over Mike's role at the restoration shop. However, Connor's interests lie elsewhere, and he's not as enamored with junk cars as his father. Despite this, Mike remains hopeful that his son will eventually continue the work he started. While filming the reality show has certainly brought Mike some fame, he admits that it has also slowed down the productivity of the shop. "It takes 30% more time to film a reality show," he confessed in an interview. "I make up the difference, but I like to fulfill people's dreams." For Mike, the dream has always been about more than just restoring cars. It's about preserving the history and character of these vintage vehicles. He takes great pride in knowing that his work work has brought joy to car enthusiasts and collectors around the world. Mike's financial situation, however, remains precarious. Despite making a significant sum of money from his construction business, he continues to face challenges in turning a profit from his car restoration endeavors. His obsession with collecting cars, coupled with his inability to part with certain vehicles, has led to a situation where he finds himself with far more cars than he can reasonably manage. Although his cars and properties make up a large portion of his net worth, the constant pressure to sell and make a profit has weighed heavily on Mike. In a candid interview with the Globe and Mail, Mike admitted that he had mixed feelings about letting go of his collection. "I'll be 62 soon. My dad died at 60. I've seen buddies dying or running into health problems, leaving their families with all kinds of stuff to deal with. What are my wife and kids gonna do with 500 cars in a field?" He reflected. Mike's decision to part with his collection was not an easy one, but he recognized that it would simplify his life and relieve his family of the burden of managing such a massive collection. In 2016, Mike attempted to sell his collection and the land it was stored on for $1 million, but there were no takers. Rather than lowering the price, Mike increased it to $1.5 million, hoping to catch the attention of potential buyers. This price increase eventually attracted the interest of Mayhem Entertainment, who saw the potential for a reality TV show about Mike and his team. And so, Rust Valley Restorers was born. Despite his original dream of restoring 500 cars, Mike eventually auctioned off most of his collection. The sale brought in around $250,000 to $260,000, and while some cars sold for more than he expected, others sold for far less than he had hoped. Among the cars Mike kept were his beloved 1970 Dodge Super Bs, a 1964 Malibu SS 4-speed convertible, and a Buick GS 4-speed, all of which he had owned for decades. With his collection now reduced to just 40 cars, Mike has turned his attention to preparing his son to take over the business. However, Connor's lack of interest in junk cars remains a point of concern for Mike. Still, he continues to train his son, hoping that one day, Connor will take over the legacy of the Rust Bros and carry on the family's work. As for the future of Rust Valley Restorers, fans of the show are eagerly awaiting the next season. Unfortunately, there has been no official word on the show's renewal, and Mike has hinted that he is focusing more on life beyond car restoration. With fewer cars to restore and his son poised to take the reins, it seems that Mike is ready to shift his attention to other pursuits. Perhaps it's time for him to let go of the past and embrace the next chapter of his life.